I needed to shoot my shot. As luck would have it, I knew Bernie's one and only weakness. Most people think he's nothing more than a political machine, a man whose only hobby is fighting for the working class. While there's some truth to that, even political machines need fuel. A little birdie told me on good authority that the senator was a sucker for Vermont maple syrup. The little birdie was my mother, who managed the general store back in my hometown of Eagle Creek, Vermont, New England's #1 leaf peeping destination, according to a press release put out by the Eagle Creek Chamber of Commerce. Grade A golden, my mother texted me. The lighter, the better. She also asked if I would invite Bernie to be the grand marshal of our town's Harvest Festival parade. Outside of maple syrup, Champ Days is, like, the one thing people in my hometown are proud of. It's all so cringe. Let me get the job first, I'd texted back. Okay, so Alexander Hamilton never thanked anyone for their time with a bottle of syrup. Nobody quashes political beef with duels anymore either. They just duke it out on Twitter. Bernie's chief of staff met me in the waiting area of the Sanders office. It was a typically sauna-like afternoon in mid-August, and Lana O'Malley was dressed head to toe in black. Either she was immune to the heat, or she actually enjoyed it. Lana ushered me into a windowless conference room without a word. Bernie, seated at the table in a rumpled baby blue button-down shirt, looked like he'd just been roused from a nap. He might well have been. The Senate was in summer recess, and Bernie was still in D.C. interviewing a parade of fanboys. He reached across the table to shake my hand. "Bernie Sanders," he said with that famously gruff voice, the one that made him sound like he was on a Brooklyn street corner hawking newspapers announcing an end to the Great War. "Crash Robertson," I said, shaking his hand. As I was taking a seat, I spied 6 bottles of syrup pushed to the far end of the table, all presumably left behind by my competition. My heart sank. The half-pint of artisanal syrup in my handbag had cost me a week's worth of tips at Lincoln's Chinstrap. If I didn't get the internship, I would be eating ramen for the next month, and not the good stuff from the food trucks near campus. "You want to be a campaign manager?" Lana said, reading off my application. "I volunteered on both of the senators' presidential campaigns," I said. The energy was off the charts. There's something about being in a room with so many people, all working toward one goal. It all seems so unpredictable and exciting and amazing, and now I'm rambling, aren't I? "Take a breath. You're fine," Lana said. "To be clear, though, this internship is a desk job. We don't have campaign staff at the moment. The senator has a few years before he's up for re-election." "Don't remind me," Bernie mumbled. What I was after was experience, I told Lana. A chance to learn the ropes from the best of the best. "I've heard this office is where coal is turned into diamonds," I said. Bernie's frown deepened. "We support clean energy here." Throughout the rest of the interrogation, I kept waiting for Bernie to jump in with a question of his own. Even mentioning how inspirational his elementary school visit had been failed to get a reaction out of him. My 10 minutes flew by. Either that, or Lana was showing me mercy by cutting the interview short. There were more victims waiting in the lobby. "Do you have any questions for us?" she asked absently, scrolling through messages on her Apple Watch. I was ready to take the loss when my eyes fell again on the cluster of maple syrup bottles. Several were corporate brands cut with cheap corn syrup, easily distinguishable by their garish labels and faux home-style names such as Maplewood Springs and Canadian Gold. Someone had even brought Bernie an old bottle of Aunt Jemima's, which had been discontinued when Quaker Oats realized nobody wanted their pancakes with a side of racism. The bottles lined up in a row all had one thing in common, though. They were all as dark and thick as used motor oil. There wasn't a single bottle of light syrup on the table. Screw it. I reached into my handbag for my bottle. As I whipped it out, Lana reached out to intercept it like a Secret Service agent.